Hello, this is Chapter 10, Stage 2, Measurement Foundation. Industry Thought Leadership. Our learning objectives. After reading this chapter, you should understand the distinction among measuring objects, properties, and indicants of properties. Also, the similarities and differences among the four scale types used in measurement and when each is used, and the four major sources of measurement error, and the criteria for evaluating good measurement. Research thought leadership. All the measurement in the world is useless if you don't make any changes based on the data. That's by Amber Naslund, enterprise sales consultant, author, and speaker. Absolute figures in a connected world don't give us a whole picture. They are not as true as they could be. We need relative figures that are connected to other data that can lead us to change our perspective. Some exhibits. Review of key terms. Concept. A bundle of meanings or characteristics associated with certain events, objects, conditions, situations, or behaviors. Classifying and categorizing objects or events that have common characteristics beyond any single observation creates concepts. When you think of a movie ticket, what comes to mind is not a single example, but your collected memories of tickets from which you abstract a set of specific and definable characteristics. Construct is an image or idea specifically invented for a given research and/or theory building purpose. We build constructs by combining the simpler, more concrete concepts, especially when the idea or image we intend to convey is not subject to direct observation. Car styling is a construct. Variable, an event, act, characteristic, trait, or attribute that can be measured and to which we assign numerals or values, a synonym for the construct or the property being studied. Some variables, said to be dichotomous, have only two values, reflecting the presence or absence of a property, employed versus unemployed. Some variables are discrete. They measure categories, such as demographic variables of race and religion. At an auto show, Chevrolet is assigned a 5 and Honda is assigned a 6 when we measure it, with no option for a 5.5. Income, temperature, age, and a test score are examples of continuous variables. These variables may take on values within a given range or, in some cases, an infinite set. Your test score may range from 0 to 100. Your age may be 23.5, and your present income could be $35,463. Operational definition. A definition for a construct stated in terms of specific criteria for testing or measurement refers to an empirical standard. We must be able to count, measure, or gather information about the standard through our senses. Whether the object being defined is physical, for example, a can of peaches, or highly abstract, for example, an attitude toward work safety, the operational definition must specify the characteristics, variables, and how they are to be observed or counted. The specifications and procedures must be so clear that any competent person using them would classify the objects in the same way. For example, a can of peaches is any container, metal, glass, plastic, or composite, that weighs at least 12 ounces and is purchased at a grocery, drug, convenience, or mass merchandiser within the Detroit, Michigan Consolidated Metropolitan Statistical Area, or CMSA. The tasks of measurement. So we have sample cases here, male and female, empirical observations, gender, M if male, F if female. Then we have styling characteristics, safety of driverless cars, assign 5 if very safe, etc. So attendees A, B, and C are male and find the driverless car to be perceived as unsafe. Attendees D and E are female and perceive the driverless car as safe. Here's a scale of measurement types: nominal, classification, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive categories, but no order, distance, or natural origin. The empirical operations, it's count, frequency distribution, mode as central tendency, no measure of dispersion, and used with other variables to discern patterns and reveal relationships. Ordinal, classification and order, but no distance or natural origin. The determination of greater or lesser value. Count, frequently distribution. Median as central tendency, non-parametric statistics. Interval, it's classification, order, and distance, but no natural origin, the same as the one above, but this one has distance. Determination of equality of intervals or differences, the count, the frequency distribution. Mean or median as measure of central tendency. The measure of dispersion is standard deviation or interquartile range, parametric test. And lastly, ratio, classification, order, distance, and natural origin. Determination of equality of ratios. Any of the above statistical operations plus multiplication and division mean as central tendency coefficients of variation as measure of dispersion, excuse me. Exhibit 10.4, measurement, move from investigative to measurement questions. You have your investigative questions when you're doing your research project. What do I need to do with the data? Describe, explore, explain, test a hypothesis, find a relationship, discover a difference. What scale type do I need? Is it nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio? Is distribution expected to be normal? What is my sample size? How many groups should be compared? And are groups related or are they independent? Then you develop mapping rules for the variables, and then you have your measurement questions. Evaluate two mapping rules. Here we go, religious views. Mapping rule A, 1 is Baptist, 2 is Catholic, 3 is Protestant, 4 is Scientology, 5 is Unitarian, 6 is Jewish, 7 is secular, non-religious, agnostic, atheist. Mapping rule, 1 is Christian, 2 is Muslim, 3 is Hindu, 4 is Buddhist, 5 is Jewish, 6 is other. What is measured? Degree to which the content of the items adequately represents the universe of all relevant items under the study. That's content. Criterion related, concurrent, predictive, and construct. I don't have to read all of that for you. Understanding validity and reliability. Reliability on the left, validity on the top. And we see we have high validity, low validity, low reliability here, and low validity and reliability here. Summary of reliability estimates, test, retest, parallel forms, split half, KR20, Chromebox alpha. It's kind of a waste here. Here we go. The foundations of AI, amazing data, everyone pulling together, culture of experimentation and continuous testing and learning. It sounds wonderful, right? Those retailers slow to get off the ground with AI will find that their competitors now have the capabilities to pull ahead a lot faster than ever before. That will completely change the landscape of which companies are still with us and who thrives in the future. The only metric that matters. A high CLV customer will likely respond better to premium features or exclusive experiences than they will to buy 10 get one free program that appeals to a loyal but lower CLV customer. Customer-centric organization, customer heterogeneity, cross-functional applications, customer equity metrics, and communication with external stakeholders. That's the only metric that matters, lifetime value. Invest in research, those with the greatest LV, refine metrics not on demographics but behaviors, embrace customer heterogeneity, and don't track a myth, the average customer. Measurement key for healthy buildings. Modern office buildings with sealed windows are designed for drama, not for health. The multiple air exchanges needed per hour to protect occupants from respiratory infections and diseases must come from sophisticated HVAC systems. These systems respond to sensors recording measurements of air quality contaminants throughout the building. Hypothesis: COVID-19 spread like the flu. Fact: COVID-19 was aerolized virus. enhance ventilation key to avoiding COVID-19, change clean air standards, improve air handling systems, rewrite the scientific medical literature. Pulse point. The percent of employees who are thinking of quitting their jobs, 40% of Gen Z. 81% of the US business that cite cloud computing as a competitive advantage over rivals. From the headlines, the US ranks 13th in average hours worked per week, when ranked lowest to highest at 38.8 hours according to the OECD, compared to most developed countries. The United States is the only one with no guaranteed paid leave. That decision resides with employers. Iceland, fifth at 35.5 hours per week, experimented with a 4-day work week for 5 years with great success, maintaining productivity while increasing worker satisfaction and well-being. What type of scale would you use if you were asked to assess the viability of a 4-day work week for full-time employees of a major retailer? Support your answer. Fast fashion retailer Forever 21 just declared bankruptcy. It grew to leadership by making merchandise for immediate consumption, not long-term wear, and rapidly opening new stores. It interpreted runway fashions but had suppliers use poorer quality material and limited handwork during construction. Some thought Forever 21 was caught off guard by the growing sustainability movement, as its cheaper merchandise often ended in landfills within a single fashion season. Others believe its dependency on mall locations while catering to a customer who preferred digital shopping was at the core of its declining performance. Forever 21 needs a new business plan to convince creditors of its potential for recovery. If you were a creditor, what would you look for in the research presented by Forever 21 to convince you its new plan has an opportunity for success? Learning objectives. Understand the distinction between measuring objects, properties, and indicators of properties, the similarities and differences between the 4 scale types used in measurements and when each is used, and the 4 major sources of measurement error, the criteria for evaluating good measure. Chapter outline. Concept, construct, variable, operational definition. These are the reviews of the terms. Measurement. Select measurable phenomena, develop a set of mapping rules, apply the mapping rule to each phenomenon. And we saw this before. And the types of scales, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And different levels of measurement, nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. Nominal scales, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive categories, classification only. Ordinal scales, nominal scale characteristics plus order implies greater than or less than. Interval scales, ordinal scale characteristics, equality of interval, and equality of distance between numbers. Here are the different levels of measurement. Interval scale characteristics, absolute 0. And this is moving from investigative to measurement questions. Recoding, adjust variable after data collection, apply new mapping rules, only reduce variable power, and less powerful statistic analysis. Sources of error, participant, situation, measurer, and instrument. Characteristics of good measurement, validity, practicality, reliability. These are all characteristics of good measurement. Validity determinants, criteria, construct, content. Increasing content validity, literature search, expert interviews, group interviews, question database, etc., anything else, and that would all help increase the content validity. Construct validity, you have your theory, and then you have your measurement instrument. Increasing construct validity is a new measure of trust, known measure of trust, known empathy measure, known credibility measure, pilot test of measurements, and correlation analysis. So validity determinants are overflowing with construct, criterion, and context. Judging criterion validity, criterion relevance, freedom from bias, reliability, and availability. This is the summary of validity estimates. We saw this before. And practicality, economy, convenience, interpretability. Here are our key terms, and I thank you for listening.